Hi, this is W. Eric Martin with Board Game Geek News, and I'm here taking a look at St. Malo by designers Inka and Marcus Brand, winners of the 2012 Kinderspiel, this year is for Village. Now they're back with an Alea title, all right, with Alea now releasing their own titles in the US in addition to Germany. This is the new US version, or I guess I should say North American version, because it has both English and French in here. So we cater to the Canadians, but not to players in Mexico. Sorry, Mexicans. So, what's going on? It's an Alea game, right? You're like, whoa, there's lots of stuff in here. This has to be super involved. Oh, except the rulebook is, sort of standard Alea size. And then you open up the box, and you're like, there's 6 boards, there's 5 pens, and there's 5 dice. Where's the mountain of chits? Where's all the stuff? There's not much in here. What's going on? Could this really be an Alea game? What? Let's see. Once you look at the components in St. Malo, especially this scoring chart here on the individual player board, you realize that yes, indeed, this is an Alea game, because you've got a whole list of things that you can score for during the game, some in-game scoring. Clearly, you're racking up the points. That's what we're doing here for the Alea games. And what are we actually doing? What does this board represent? Well, it represents the walled city of St. Malo in France. Each player gets their own board, so apparently this is some sort of DC alternative universe world where I'm representing Earth A, someone else has Earth B, someone's got Bizarro Earth, and so on, where we're each going to see how we best defend and build up the town using the resources available to us, which come to us randomly on dice. So, each player has a board, you have a pen to write with, you have a central board here which shows you what you can get when you roll heads, because that's the most complex thing in the game. You also have a chart up here which you're tracking pirates, because why would you want walls in the city? Well, because pirates are coming to attack you. And they come to attack you when you have crossed swords on the dice. So, on a turn, you roll the dice Yahtzee style 3 times. You roll, you can set aside anything you want. You can roll a second time. Ooh, I'll do that instead. You can pick up things that you set aside previously. And now I roll a 3rd time, and once I do that, I am done. Now, what I actually do is I look at all the dice that I have, and I choose all of one type of dice. Okay, so I can choose 3 walls, 1 cross, or 1 head. If you have a crossed sword, that is set aside and that will take place. Okay, so whenever you stop, however many crossed swords you have, those are going to be set aside. You can't touch those. Your other dice, though, if you want, you can pay, as shown here, 2 coins to change the face of a die. They not so helpfully have a red X over the crossed sword, so it kind of looks a little confusing, but that's what you can do. You cannot change the crossed swords, but you can change anything else by paying 2 coins. Where do you get coins? Well, you start with 3 coins here in your hold, and you can add more coins as the game goes on. When you spend coins, you cross them out. Thoroughly cross them out. So, again, you can choose all of one type of dice, and then do things with those dice that you set aside. So, if I did this, I might choose the walls. What do you do with walls? Well, naturally, you put them around your town to protect your town. And you can build 1 wall symbol for each die that you have. The rules have these very, elaborate walls. Eventually, in the game, we're just doing like, here's a wall. Or here's a tower that we build up here and make it all crenellated and stuff. And then they look like other things too, as we start building them. But you build 1 wall symbol for each wall that you roll. If you complete a wall, all the way around the outside, because walls can only be built outside the city, while inside the city is pointless and dumb. Everyone would laugh at you if you tried to build walls inside the city. If you build all the walls on a particular side of the city, you get a bonus as shown on the arrow pointing here. You get some coins, you get points, you get heads, which will become clear later on. Okay. That's the wall pieces. If you roll wood, well, guess what? You got some wood. Okay, you start the game with 2 pieces of wood in your lumber yard here. Whenever you add wood to the lumber yard, you have to spend 2 coins. That's the cost of the labor to put the wood in there. However many pieces of wood you put in there, you only spend 2 coins. So if I had this, I'd add 3 logs. That doesn't look like a log. Pretend they're logs. All right, you add logs to the lumber yard. If you roll crosses, you can build churches. Or, sorry, you can build a church. Each time during the game that you build something or add something, you can only use dice once. If I have this, I could build a church of value 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but I cannot build both a 3 and a 2, or a 4 and a 1, or something like this. To build a church, you choose any empty space on the board, even the potential wall spaces. You can put churches in danger of being attacked by pirates if you want. And you build a church. I don't know what symbol you want to put on that. And you put a number inside to represent how many crosses you want that church to represent. Why would you not put the full amount? Because you get in-game scoring based on making sequences of churches, which we'll get to in just a moment. Okay, so there's that. We have crates of goods. These are kind of amorphous. You know, you can see it's a 3D silhouette with the metal bands around a crate and all that, but at first glance you're just like, Australia? Okay. When you roll crates, you have to put all the crates connected together orthogonally on the board. Right? So if I had this, I would build 3 crates. I can connect them or not as I wish to the 4 crates that you start with. Right? You get 4 crates, you get 3 coins, you get 2 pieces of wood, and you put more crates on the board. What do crates do for you? Well, they pay out when you get merchants. So let's get to the heads. Okay. So this chart tells you all the possible things that you can do when you roll heads and add those to your city. So however many heads you roll, you choose a figure that takes that many heads or fewer, and then you draw a symbol in any space of your choice, a circle with a letter in it. Okay? Or tu parles français, you use this side over here. You can play with those people. If you speak Spanish, again, write out. I'll have to work on that, Ravensburger. All right, so what do? Citizens. You put a citizen down, you get a point. That's if you have only 1 head. That's the lowly compensation prize when you just have to fill a space. 2 heads gets you a soldier. Soldier gives you defense strength. That's for when the pirates attack. We'll get to that in a moment. Priest. You want to build a priest next to your church. If you put a priest down next to, you check all 8 spaces next to him, and for each church next to him, you get 1 point. And in this game, you just cross off or circle your points as you get them. You keep a running total there, and then of course you reach over to grab some chips, and oh, I erased my points. So don't do this. Put the chips next to other players. Okay, if you add more churches later next to a priest, that does you no good. The priest is already occupied at the churches that exist. All the other ones that show up later are heathens. They're faux churches. They don't count for priests. All right, architects. If you have 3 heads, you can build an architect or a merchant, or of course any of the other people. A merchant gives you 1 coin for each crate that he's next to. So if you do this, 7, and you draw 7 little circles. There we go. Now I have some more coins to work with. And you need the coins again to put wood into your lumberyard and to change dice. And coins are worth points at the end of the game. This is an Leia game after all. Lots of things score. Architect. With an architect, you spend wood, 1 to 3 pieces of wood, to build 1 to 3 houses to get you 3, 6, or 9 points. So you put both the architect on the board. You cross out however many pieces of wood you're going to use. You probably want to use as many as you can. And you build some houses. The houses must all touch one another orthogonally, and they must touch the architect diagonally or orthogonally. It's a little wonky how sometimes it's diagonal, like with the merchant scoring things, or the architect touching the houses, or the priest touching the churches. And other things are orthogonal. All the goods cubes that you add on a turn must be orthogonal. All the houses are orthogonal, but you know, you learn this, or you don't. You mess up. Other people correct you. All right. You score 3, 6, or 9 points, building 1, 2, or 3 houses. If you get 4 heads, you can build a juggler. Juggler cares about other people types. So for each different type next to the juggler, there's a J, right? Where's J? E. You score 2 points, so that'd be 4 points. Okay, 4 points. Where am I? I'm just circling things at random. If you put a juggler here, he scores for other jugglers as well. This guy's a master juggler, and he, shows this guy up. Gets 6 points. All right. If you get 5 heads, you can get a nobleman, which gives you 7 points. He doesn't mess around. He just slaps down the points and runs. Now, those are all 5 faces on the dice that can get you things. The crossed swords, what do you do with them? Well, for each crossed sword that you have, you're going to mark off a box. You look at columns only based on the number of players. St. Malo plays with 2 to 5 players. If you have 3 players, you cross these out. Those don't matter. And whenever you fill the final box in a row with an X, then the pirates attack. You must have a strength of at least this number to avoid taking damage from the pirates. And since this is an Alea game, taking damage equals losing points. Okay, think of the rats, Notre Dame, or all the things that you know and love from Steffenfeld games, even though this game is by the brands. So the amount of strength that you need increases with each pirate attack. 1, 3, 6, 8, 10, 12. How do you get defense? Well, if you recall, soldiers give you 1 defense, no matter where the soldier is in a city. And each wall that you complete with only wall pieces gives you a strength of 2. Okay, so you add up the wall strength, your soldier strength, you see whether that matches the pirates. If not, if you don't have enough strength, then you cross out one of the cannons up here. Each cannon that you cross out costs you 5 points at the end of the game. Okay. When does the game end? When does the game end? Well, the game ends when someone fills up their city. So, a possible winning strategy would be to have an entire board filled with noblemen. But, that's 7 points a turn. That'd be awesome. However, that's going to take you 41 turns because there are 45 empty spaces on the board. Probably not going to happen. Right? You want to get lots of rolls that are going to let you build lots of things and fill up your city quickly to, number 1, end the game before other people can score points, and number 2, you get a bonus if you're the one who has a full city at the end of the game. Now, when someone has a full city, you complete the round, so everyone has the same number of turns, and then you add up your points. You've scored points during the game for building houses, possibly for completing this wall, for getting noblemen or jugglers or citizens, priest. All right, what else do you score at the end of the game? You see the helpful chart up here. If your city is full, you get 5 points. For each 2 coins, you get a point. Each piece of wood, you get a point. Each cannon crossed out, you lose 5 points. And churches score again in sequences. If you have a sequence of churches from 1 to 5, you get 20 points. If you have 1 to 3, you get 8 points. 1 to 2, you get 4 points. If you have 2, 3, and 4, you get Zippo. Right? You need that introductory church to get people going to church. And then they move up to the larger Rick Warren style churches. If you have multiple sequence of churches, 1 to 3 and a 1 to 4, so you got 7 churches on here with those numbers, you get 13 points, you get 8 points, you get 21 points, you add up all your points, you see who has the most points wins. There we go. Alea game. So how does St. Malo play? Well, kind of how you'd expect with a Yahtzee style game. Right? You're going to have the luck of the dice to determine what you're going to get each round, but you have to make choices on what you're trying to get each round. And some people can get stuck in a rut and do themselves more damage than good. So if you're looking at the city here, you see the pirates about to attack, and you're like, I don't have a wall completed yet. I want to complete something just so I don't lose 5 points. That's 5 points. Now, losing 5 points for having cannon marked off, of course, is the same as not getting a 5-point bonus at the end of the game for having a cannon marked off. And yet that negative always gets people, it gets their shorts in a bunch where they're just like, I don't want to do that. I want to work here and get walls. And, or a game where someone was just determined to get walls. He had something like 1 wall out of 30 dice that he rolled. So over, 5 or 6 turns or something. he got 1 wall. And he was just like, what is going on? Why can't I get this? And yet at the same time, he threw away a roll, it was first turn roll, where he had 4 wood. Okay? 4 wood, well, wood gets you a point each. That's 4 points at the end of the game. 1 roll, you could have had 4 points and then say, whatever, I don't care about losing to the pirates. I'm going to get that wood down. And then you could be looking for heads to build those houses, right? Which gets you 9 points. So you convert the 1 point wood into a 3 point house. That seems better than worrying about losing points for the wall, but that's what you got fixated on, right? That's the value of negative scoring when you do your design. You're trying to fill up your board quickly so that you can shut out what other people are doing. We had the guy who was filling up his board pretty quickly, and so what he started doing was just keeping as many crossed swords as he could while still adding something to his city to just push along those pirate attacks to make sure that other people are losing points while he was just doing fine because he had walls all over the place. All right, and you want to keep that building. So you have to worry about your money flow all the time. If you don't have enough money, you can't flip dice, and you're stuck more just taking what you need, what you get. Right? You can't add more wood down in the lumber yard, which keeps you from building, which then means the logs are useless because you can't put anything in there. So you get, you hamstring yourself by not allowing you to play the game in full, by leaving more options for yourself. And this goes back to what an Alea game is, right? You have all these options available to you. What paths are you going to take? What are you going to explore? Part of it, of course, is looking around and seeing what other people are doing. If someone else is building a lot of walls, then they might be pushing pirates later, and maybe you want to care about defense, or you don't, right? Maybe you just want to focus on other things. You want to build churches all over the place. Pick up extra points with those priests, because priests take only 2 heads. They're pretty easy to do. And you just get lots of endgame points off the churches. Sure, you can do that, right? It's all ties in together to what you would expect to find in a lay game, but with something that's completely different. So why erasable pens, right? Why use these instead of having mountains of chits? Well, let's go back to my hypothetical all noblemen board, which I smeared, of course, because that's what you're going to do with this. This takes 41 chits. If everyone magically had the all noblemen strategy and kept rolling 5 heads each turn, well, you need 205 noblemen chits to cover all these spaces here. That's not going to happen. You're going to have... That's ridiculous. Why would you publish a game that has 205 noblemen chits just on the off chance that you're going to need them, right? You have 7 different types of people. You're not going to have 7 different types of chits, and then house chits and good chits and wall chits and all sorts of chit. It gets troublesome. So here we go. Erasable pens on the board. These thick boards hold up pretty well. Other than smearing all over your hands. That's what you will see at the end of St. Malo. Either you'll raise your dirty hands in victory, or you'll hide your face with them and smear more black marks all over your face in shame. And that's it for St. Malo.